stitching. Okay, hello, hi, I'm Kaylee. This is Kaylee Cross Stitch, and I have not done a song yet, but I'm like a year and a half later after promising a tiny stitching video. Here it is. It is May 24th, 2024, and I think I recorded a video maybe at the end of 2021 about tiny stitching, and it was when I had just done like 2 or 3 things that were tiny, and Karen had just sent me 56 count fabric, and I was a noob. I didn't know very much about tiny stitching, and ever since then a lot has happened. I've stitched a lot of tiny things. I've sent out a lot of tiny stitching kits, and I'm going to tell you all about it in this video, which I guess you could consider a tiny stitching update since the last one, whenever. I'm so disorganized that I didn't even go watch it. I don't know. Maybe I just don't like to see past Kaylee babbling in videos. But we got our Starbucks. We got our tiny stitching, and let me show you the joy of tiny stitching. And also, if you're scared to try it, maybe this will be like it's okay. It's pretty ridiculous what kind of rabbit hole I've gotten myself into. So I'm gonna try to stay organized in this video, show you fabric, floss, and suggestions that I have for those. If you sign up for a tiny stitching kit, what you'll get from me, and I'll show you a whole bunch of my whips and finishes of tiny stitching. Are you ready? I don't know if you're ready. Okay, so what is tiny stitching? Tiny stitching is stitching as tiny as you can for fun, because you want to save wall space. I don't know, that was the original plan, but I just love tiny things. I love things that are smaller than they're supposed to be, or larger than they're supposed to be. And so I was like, you know what? Instead of collecting a whole bunch of large things and stitching enormous things, I'm going to stitch tiny things. I guess maybe that wasn't all of the logic, but anyway, this is not a new art form, stitching tiny. I mean, you have the whole dollhouse community, and I have purchased some things from dollhouse creators. Specifically, I've purchased gauze from dollhouse creators. I'm glad I got in this tangent because I forgot about telling you this. There's a creator who does patterns for rugs that you put in your dollhouses, and she sells gauze from 40 count up to, I think I have a 72 count maybe, or an 80, but it's not good to try to stitch patterns, like cross stitch patterns on those. I've given it a little bit of a try, but I haven't done it since, because gauze is such a not a fun material to work with for me. So I'll show you what I've graduated to instead of gauze. So it's not a new art form, doing tiny stitching, and I've seen tiny embroidery kits on Etsy, and there are some other artists that stitch tiny on Instagram. Maybe I'll shout them out in my stories or something. Just find them. I have so many hashtags in my Instagram that you can just click on those. I mean, most of it's probably going to be my stuff. But anyway, I have found some things I've found some tiny stitchings in the wild, and usually they're these compact things. So this I found in Georgia, and it is tiny stitching. Hello? Are you hungry? He's hungry. It's not time. It's not time. Isn't he cute? Anyway, this is a little compact, and from what I can surmise, devise, find out, this is 40 count, and that's like a bunch of different colors, and it is half stitch, but it's just this little compact. I haven't decided what to put in here. Tiny things, obviously. It smells like old makeup. So if I have that one, and I also have this one, which is a little faded, but this one is huge. But it's the same. I think it's 40 count. And this one smells even more like old makeup because there is old makeup in it. But can you imagine finishing these? These are prized possessions for me. So, and I also, when I went to Salty Yarns in Ocean City, Maryland, some of the models were stitched 40 count over one half stitch. So I think maybe how I got into it, wait, should I go to this story yet? Yes. How I got into it was I saw Stitching Mommy on YouTube, on Flosstube. She was stitching a Haid on 40 count half stitch. And I was like, whoa, that's really cool. And so I started, I believe I actually started my Haids before I started over one stitching tiny. Yes, because I started one in California when I still lived in California. Do you want to see those? I'll show those in the chronological stuff. I'll show you when in the show and tell. So I saw her stitching a Haid and I was like, oh, that's a great idea. You know, saving money on fabric, saving money on floss, and stitching tiny, stitching smaller. It's satisfying. I'll show you my 46 count Haid. It's really nice. Anyway, so I just kind of am into it, you know? Okay, we've had 7 minutes of rambling. Let's get to the tiny stitching materials, shall we? So, in my ventures, I have found embroidery floss and sewing floss that are really suitable for tiny stitching. The first kind of floss I want to show you is Tudor silk, and this is from Gloriana. This is how it comes in these little bags. Gloriana obviously dyes a bunch of beautiful silk, and this Tudor silk is a 12-strand silk, and it is very fine. It's gorgeous, and a lot of these colors are in the line already, and since I started collecting Tudor silk, she has expanded her Tudor silk line so that it's almost as large as the regular silk. But this is 12, like I said, 12 strands, and let me see if I can get a little piece out for you. Oh, this is coming apart. Whenever you see threads, you'll see its weight, and then you'll see its ply number. So the ply is basically how many strands of material are wound together. This looks like it's two ply. It'll be like the weight number / the ply number. I think this is oh, here, let me show you. 120 over 2. So that means that the weight is 120. Hello? And 2 is the number of ply. Switzerland. See, extra fine floss. Now in tiny, some of you might be like, oh, that looks very tiny. And yes, it is, but actually in tiny stitching terms, I'm going to categorize this as large, as thick floss. We're strictly talking over one stitching here. And the smallest I would go with this is probably 40 count because it's a perfect amount of coverage. I'll show you in my show and tell whips. And then next smallest I would say is Auvers sur Fin. And this, a lot of LNSs carry it, but a lot don't. They can order it obviously, but you can find this online too. I think that maybe in the UK it's not as available. But sur Fin is I want to say this is a 130 over 2. So the weight is 130. Yeah, it might be over 2. I should have double checked this before I started spewing about it. But this is a really nice option, especially since it's silk and it's quite pliable. Like it bends easy, but it's actually strong. It doesn't fray as easily as Tudor silk, and it's finer. So as you can see, it's quite a fine floss. Here, let me find a piece of. I had a piece out here. No, that's surfing. So the top is the Tudor silk and the bottom is the surfing. You can see that the surfing is finer and stronger. It's very much stronger. So for this, I would go up to 56 count with this over one. And I'm going to get ahead of myself. When I send you a kit, this is what I send you. If you request, well, I've started doing this for all of the kinds. And this is the finest embroidery floss I can find. Now, I was like, it's not small enough. So one of my inspirations is Almond M&M's Ymir, and she started dyeing her own 12-strand silk. This is Rosé. It was from the Reds pack, and I can't find it anymore on her website. I'll have to message her and see if she can send me some of her reserves. But this is also a very fine, very, very fine silk and frays pretty easily. I have a few whips with this. And a finish with this too. But this, I believe she sourced herself. So this is not a purchasable silk. You can't purchase this from a wholesaler or from a supplier easily. I think she had to like kind of pull their arm to get it, if I'm remembering my conversation with her correctly. But like I said, this is a very, very fine silk, fine embroidery floss. It's not a great example of it, but you can see it's pretty small. So then I was like, well, that's not small enough. So I got into looking for sewing floss and seeing what the finest of that I could get. And sewing floss is weighted differently than embroidery floss. So the sewing floss is actually finer, but the weight is 100 weight. So embroidery floss runs 100 weight is I don't remember what DMC is, probably like 60 or something like that. But the sewing floss is 100, and it's finer than the 120, 130 embroidery flosses. So the first one that I found was Wonderfill, and this is from from Wonderfill, and the line is called Invisifill. It's supposed to be for really fine sewing projects. And this is pure polyester. Now, I got a bunch of this because it was a little bit cheaper than what I'm going to show you next, but it's not as good. It's not as easy to stitch with. And I've sent this to a couple people, like early in the tiny stitching kit days, and I have since given it to my sewing friends and said, here, you can have this, and I don't want to send this for people to stitch with, because the first whip that I had with this is still a whip from like 2021. I'll show it to you. But it is very fine. So the polyester is not as easy to stitch with because it's not as flexible. It holds its shape a little too well, and it does slip in the needle very easily. Oh, he's getting into something. He's on the table. What are you doing? I hope you can hear him. He's a very vocal cat. Anyway, so I said, this is okay, but it's not amazing. And I started expanding my collection of Superior Threads kimono silk thread. Now this is a silk, and it is probably the same thickness as the Invisifill. Maybe actually a little thicker, but still really fine. And there's lots of different colors of this, and it's gorgeous to stitch with. Superior Threads Kimono Silk. And there is also YLI, which this is the only YLI that I've tried. It's fine. I like it. I have a very large whip with it. But I mean, financially, I can't justify getting 2 lines of this silk. Of course, it lasts a long time, but it's not the cheapest stuff on the planet. So that's kind of the threads, the floss options that I have dabbled with. Now, fabric. When I first started stitching, of course, 40 count was kind of, first started tiny stitching, 40 count was kind of the thing to try because I could still do DMC with it, half stitch. And until I discovered Tudor silk, I didn't think to do like full cross stuff on it. And 40 count was not as popular as, say, 36 or 32. But I would say maybe 5 years ago, people really started to use 40 count for their over 2 stitching and then started getting into the higher counts, 46 and 56. That is linen and 40 count Verdal wasn't widely used. And granted, this is in my experience, you know, some people probably have been using it for billions of years. But then I got a message from Karen, the needlebug, and she said to me, Kaylee, my eyes are deteriorating to the point where I can't see my 36 and above count whips. And I want to send you all my fabric and a whip. And this was like when I was getting into tiny stitching, I was like, ooh, I want to share with people. And so she sent me all of her fabric that was 36 count and above. And I have sold out of the 40 count. I have like 2 pieces left that was donated by Karen. And I have recently decided that I will not be sending 40 count in whips or in the tiny stitching kits. Hello? Because it's widely available and it's hand dyed available. So you can hate me if you want, message me if you want, if you want a 40 count piece, I'll send you a little piece of it. I have a few pieces left. But now the love has spread so far that now what I am offering is these options. 46 count, which is a linen, not an even weave. 40 count Verdal is an even weave. And this that I will send you is 46 linen. Close up. Can you see those holes? See, everybody that encounters me, they're like, how can you see that? And I'm like, if you stitch it over 2, you can stitch it over 1. So 46 count. And then I do have 56 count even weave. This is not a manufactured by Zweigart anymore fabric. This is a rare fabric. Although somebody had it at Stitch North this year and I was like, whoa. So that's 56 count even weave. And I'm running out. So Karen sent me a crap ton of this. She sent me like 3 yards of this. And so many people have wanted to try tiny stitching that I'm nearing the end of my supply that I'm willing to give up. Okay, you have to understand, I'm not being greedy here. I have sent out almost 200, actually more than that because I bring this to retreats. Probably 250 people have tried tiny stitching or have like taken my materials. Hello. And I've not held that much for myself. Anyway, I'm kind of running low on 56 even weave because Zweigart doesn't manufacture it. # we want 56 count even weave. So those 2 are your options. And then also, which since I made this change, only one person has requested this option, but this is a quilting square. a fabric quilting square. And I will send this to anybody who will try because it's super tiny and cute. I'll show you some whips of it. Look at that. So if you are new, hi, I'm Kaylee. I send out tiny stitching kits if you want to try. What you will get is the fabric of your choice, 56, 46, or 64. Actually, this is an uneven weave. It's like 50, 54, 64 or something like that. And I will send you a little needle, which is a beading needle. Where's the eye? There's the eye. Pretty small, right? Not your size 28 needle here. And I'll send you some floss. It'll come like this. Let me show you. I have some here already made up. I will send you a little floss drop with some floss. And you can specify a color. I have a variety of colors that I will share with you. Now, I guess maybe I should put this on the form, but the default that I send you is Surfing, Swa Surfing, because it's the easiest to work with and the most versatile for the fabrics. But if you want to try these sewing flosses, then you should specify that in the directions. Okay, and I just pop a postage stamp on there and send it to you worldwide. I have global postage stamps. Now, as some people have already pointed out, and I've succumbed, I have been footing this bill myself for the floss. The fabric has been provided by Karen. I've been buying postage and buying cards and stuff, stationery. I do it cheaply. It's okay. I've been footing that bill myself, but I'm not a teacher anymore. I don't have a salary anymore. So I have caved and I have started a Patreon. And there are different tiers on my Patreon. The 64 counters are $1 per month. The 56 counters are like $3 or something. The 46 counters are $5 a month. And the 40 counters are $10 a month. You can subscribe at any level. If you want to make a one-time donation, like you can pay a 1 month's subscription and then stop it. That's fine too. I've had enough people say, let me help you with the cost. Now, if you don't do Patreon, just message me. I still feel weird taking people's money, but I have had donations not through Patreon for tiny stitching, and it'll help me with postage. It'll help me with stationery. It'll help me with the cost of more flosses, because I do want to get more colors of surfing. I don't have a super wide variety of them, but I want to expand. It's just that, like I said, I don't have a salary anymore, so I'm just watching myself. And I ran out of 46 from Karen, so I did recently spend my own money on a yard of this to put in the kits. And I'm not trying to complain. I hope that's not coming across like I'm complaining about spending money on materials for you, because the whole idea of this tiny stitching giveaway was that you wouldn't have to foot the bill on all this, all this fabric and all these needles, this floss, when you don't know if you like it yet. So that's why it's #trying tiny stitching, and that's why I just want to spread the love and spread the joy of tiny stitching. So if you're so inclined, head over to my Patreon, give me $12 a year, and that will greatly help me continue sharing this, because the more people that see it, the more people that get excited about it. Yoo-hoo! So I'm happy for those of you who have already become patrons. Thank you. You guys are so sweet. And yeah, if you feel like contributing. Okay, you ready? That's the whole spiel on materials. Now, you ready to see some whips? You ready to see some? I do have a PowerPoint with some of these pictures and all the information in there, but I might be showing you more here. I think there's not as much here. So I'm going to show you in fabric size order, starting with a giant whip, or a giant finish, a giant stitching finish. What's this called? Circular Logic. This is ink circles, and this is 28 count with hand-dyed Ymir threads. And let's get a little close up. This was a round robin, so I had 3 other people stitch on this. I subjected them to stitching on 28 count. And it's very pretty, isn't it? I got this fabric at Acorns and Threads. It's kind of washing out, but it's a very light pink. And that's a really cool finish, huh? But it's 28 count. It's huge. 32 count. 32 count. This is a Stitchrovia piece that I started a while ago and have not really made much progress on since. But this is a 32 count. 32 count is great. It's the smallest I would go with a DMC size floss over 1 full cross. So it's a little tight. The coverage is pretty full, but it's still satisfying. I still use a size 28 needle for this, by the way. I should get back to working on this. It goes quickly. Isn't it cute? Look at these little eighth notes. Little birdies. I think I got this from Jen. 32. Yeah, that's 32. I do have another one that's 32, but it's like buried. And I do have a Haid on 28, but it's also buried. So just go look those up on my Instagram. I do have, let me show you my progression when I was first getting into tiny stitching. I found these little art pieces from the Stitch Patterns or something like that. And this is 28 with DMC over 1. So is this one. Boy, this is just really secure here. Good job, Kaylee. Thanks. 28 over 1. And this is the comparison that I wanted you to see. This is a 28, and then this is a 56. So the 28 is pretty small, right? But then the 56 is a quarter of the size. And this is with Invisifil. It was a pattern that only required 2. And there's some back stitching on that too. Full cross. Full cross. I really like that one. It has like lots of hand juices on it, it looks like. And then I was doing some Quirky Quakers. This is a 32 count with Ymir flosses, unicorn. And then I did an over 2 on 56 count. Oh, I have some over 2 in here too. But like I say, if you do over 2, you can do over 1. This is a 5363 from Fire Poppies with Surfine. I'll show you one of those over 1. So then these are Karen's test stitches. Every time I show somebody this, I show, because when Karen sent me all her fabric, it had all these test stitches on the corners and I couldn't throw them away. I had to keep them. But here you can see Karen trying over 2 and over 1, full cross. This is a 40 count with Surfine. Surfine is so great. Surfine can do anything. 36, I think. Another 40 count. Look at how good that is. Looks so cute. Here's 56. Over 2, over 1. Here's some more 40 count whips. I did a lot of 40 count when I first started because I found all the Tudor silk, but this is Memento Mori from Bendy Stitchy Designs. And I did the personal is political, and I sent it to her. You can find that on my Instagram somewhere. And then this is my test stitch for 46 count over 1 half stitch. And after I did this, I was like, yep, let's start a Haid. This is my tiny journal. Isn't that cute? Okay. Okay, we're back to not chronological. We're back to size order. We're on to 36 count. This is the whip that I have inherited from Karen when she sent me all of her tiny fabric. And this is Legal High from Long Dog Samplers. And this is a 36 count over 1. Here, let me put it next to my face so you can see how tall it is. Or how short it is. 36 count over 1 with Soie Surfine. So it is, once you get a little close, it is, you can see the fabric through. So 36 count is pretty big for Surfine. But it's just a beautiful green, very satisfying stitching. Very satisfying stitching. So cool, I said it twice. I guess I'll show you on this one. So this is, let me see. This is like the normal way that you learn how to do stitching, either by you do 1 stitch at a time, or like this, the back looks all vertical. And when I first started cross stitching, I learned this technique of doing like a continental stitch on the back. So this is Karen's, and this is mine. And what this does, see, this is the back. And what this does is when you put your thread on the back, you stitch over 2 fabric threads, and the threads don't slip as easily. I'll talk a little bit about this, but it's just what you make it. I feel like if you're somebody who stitches super tight, you're gonna constantly have your thread slip because you're pulling too tight and the fabric threads can't hold the threads. But if you're not pulling super tight, the tension, you shouldn't have too many problems. But this kind of guarantees that you won't have any slippage. And I think I've probably explained this in a different video, but there's not much of a difference on the front. This is mine, this is Karen's. It's not that big of a deal. To me, at least. I don't know if people are like super worried about their... Look, it's like a little handkerchief. I don't know if people are super worried about their tension or what their stitches look like, or, you know, slipping stitches. Another thing that actually Karen taught me this, if you are worried about your stitches slipping, the first, when you stitch your first leg of your X, and when you come up for your second leg, you should be going parallel to the fabric thread that you just stitched on. I think I've tried to explain this somewhere else. Okay, what are we at? We're at 40 count. All the 40 count whips. Let me show you. This is over 1 half stitch with Ymir threads. And then I do have a DMC étoile here. Oh, it looks worse on camera than it does in person. But let me see if I can get you a close up here. That's half stitch. This is Verdal. What am I trying to say? Oh, this is Transpride Tapestry by D's 20 Stitches and Uncanny Kari. Why is this still a whip? I don't know. Shinier things elsewhere, I guess. I'm almost done. I think I'm like almost at 80% or something like that. Over 1 half stitch. 40 count full cross. This one is really cute. Are you ready? I don't know if you're ready. It's so cute. It's so tiny. So the sorry. Okay, the solfege is with DMC in elementary music teacher colors, because the instruments are these colors. Boom whackers. And then the rest is a conversion by me. And this is Sing a Sampler from Silver Creek Samplers. Let me give you a close up here. It's so cute. It's so cute. It's so little. It's so cute, isn't it? I kind of lose it on this one, honestly. I lose it. It's so tiny. It's like, I don't know, man. I shock myself sometimes. Okay. I should just bring out a full coverage whip and show you. So this is a stitch along with Nati, my stitch wife, my tiny stitching wife. And this is with Seaweed. Where'd it go? Where'd I put it? Oh, here it is. This is with the Tudor Silk. Over 1, 40 count, full cross. I kind of have this, maybe it's a little narcissistic, where I have this really fun idea of stitching like common whips tiny so that people can really get how tiny it really is. But this is one of those. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. Here is something that somebody has sent me from my own tiny stitching kit. It's 40 count over 1. Somebody has sent that to me. It's a little Susie. Do you remember Susie? Probably you don't, because you haven't been on my channel for a while. I don't even know what they used. It might be DMC. DMC is a little tight, but it's possible on 40 count. That little kitty. That's so nice. Yeah, let me grab one of these. Oh. Here's a Hade 40 count. And this is the width of the pattern. It's what I think it's like over 300. But this is a Barnyard Animals. And sorry for the terrible showing, but this is DMC, half stitch. So these are the 10 by 10 grid. It's so cute and tiny. It's so cute and tiny. Everybody's like, shut up, Kaylee. You already said that like 1,000 times. It's so cute and tiny. We get it. We get it. Okay, are you ready for the 46 count? Now we're getting into the territory. We're getting into the quite small. First, I'm going to show you an over 2 stitching. This is actually a 45 count jersey cream. Whoops, it's not the right way. Legacy linen. But this is not a common count. 45 is not common as far as I know. But this is Data Portraits in Paris by Shaded Stitchery. Nuri, I got to meet her. Oh, I forgot to show you the smalls exchange in my last video. So this is over 2 with DMC. And then these are, I think these two are substituted, but it's not very much stitchings. It's so tiny. This is even small over 2. I always say this to people. I'm like, you know, you can see it on Flosstube, but in person it's even tinier. How am I moving this? Okay, 46 count over 1. You know this one? You know that guy? This guy? Jacob? You guys, I have a picture of me and Jacob with this. It's kind of cool. This is Reaching Skyward. 46 count. And this is Surfing. 2 colors of Surfing. Look at all the cat hair. It's so satisfying. So it is a little tight on 46. For my taste, it's pretty tight. What I mean is a very full coverage. But you can still see, like, especially when you pull it away from the camera, it's just so, oh, it's so good. So good. Alrighty. The Haid. That was misquoted as 56 count. I think maybe Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch maybe misquoted it. But this is 46 count with DMC. I would not do 56. I probably wouldn't do a Haid on 56 count. It would be a little too tight. I'll show you the back of this. But this is a mini Haid. This nerd hoop is, how big is it? Nine inches, which is 23 centimeters by 8, and 8 by 9, 20 by 23. This is a nerd hoop, and the whole thing will fit in here. Can you believe that? A Haid can fit inside a nerd hoop? Let me show you the back. It's a little wild, and I do carry my threads as long as I want, because this much with one strand is not that much floss. But it is a lot of carrying. It depends on the pattern. So some people ask me, you know, would you do this on 56? Would you do this on 46 or 40? It depends on the pattern. If you have a lot of colors, you might want to go 40. But the coverage is so great on 46. It's just really good. But they are tiny stitches. And if you notice, I did not grid this. I could, but it seemed like it was more trouble than it was worth to grid. So I do just park it if I don't want to count that far. I just park the thread. I'm kind of doing this by page. So I did these partial pages over here, and then this is a page. So page width is in between my fingers there probably. Look, this much of the kitty. The kitty. Cannoli's going crazy. Oh, I think he's attacking Cleo. Yeah, he's attacking Cleo. I've been working on this pretty steadily since Stitch North. Like, I've gotten all this stuff done. It's exciting, isn't it? Okay. 56. I can't believe it. This is like the longest Kaylee video ever. 56. Let me show you the over 2 stuff first. So this is over 2. This is the 2 Friendship, which was a Jacob Palooza exclusive, but he has released it since. And this is over 2 with a Roxy Floss Co. full cross. 56 count. I think that when I run out of even weave, I probably might cut the rest of this off and send this out, because this is just a basic pearl gray from Zweigart. 56 linen. Squeak. This is a 5663 or 5363, so it's looks wider than it is tall. Over 2. This is an inside joke. Actually, it's a hate comment. Is that all? Oh, I think I have one more, but I'm not going to show it to you. My most recent whip start is with the Ymir floss that I showed you before. This is the Queen of May, and this is 56 count over 1. Full cross. It's so tiny. Look at this cute little needle minder from Rocky Mountain Needle Minders that was in the freebie bag. And then another one from Rocky Mountain Needle Minders. It's small enough, right? I'm going to do this without the border because almost half the pattern was in the border. And I was like, nope. Too many whips. Too many whips. This was one of the first things I started on 56 count. And this is also with a Ymir floss. But I have stitched this pattern before. Like before I started my Flosstube. It was my profile picture for a while. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. There's a Mary Poppins right here, and she's flying over the houses. And I think I just got tired of stitching the same pattern. I'm not somebody who's gonna like stitch something more than once, unless it's itsy I like. But this was a really fun one to start because I was just like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. It's so tiny. This is the first. Never mind. Tangent. 56. Let me show you some finishes that I've had on 56. This was another one of the first ones that I did. This is also Ymir floss that I fussy cut. It was variegated between the purple and the orange. It had like long lengths of purple, and then it went to orange, and then it went to purple. So the only one that I stitched the variegation was on the ABC, and then the rest I just fussy cut and went back and forth. And this is also like inspired by Ymir because she stitched this on 56 count tiny. So when I was stitching this, I was trying a whole bunch of different needles. Like I found really long beading needles, and they're very thin, but they're hard to control because it's a beading needle. It's long, and you need more precision. I don't remember this pattern. You know this pattern, right? This one I stitched recently with kimono silk, and it was for a friend, but I haven't sent it to her yet. I should send it to her. It's a banana, Andy Warhol banana, 56 over 1. Really fun stitch. Here's another. Tiny stitch. 56 count over 1. And this is with the silk. So this was a test stitch to see if I could tolerate this on a huge project. So let me show you that now. So this has got the morbs. Another one that I was like, I need to stitch that because a bunch of people are stitching it, and I want people to like kind of visualize how small it is because it's so cute. Here, let me show you. There's a whip in here. And it is this whip. This is the Vierlande sampler AKGIT 1833. The big one. The big one. And I wasn't going to stitch it. I was like, oh, that's gorgeous, but I don't really need to stitch it. And then I saw Jacob's stitching of it. He's doing it over 2 on 56. Actually, he's doing the uneven weave one. And I was like, oh, dang, I gotta do that. It's turning out beautifully with this. And actually, I'm not doing the continental type stitch on the back. I'm doing it normal. So I'm using even less floss. It's pretty ridiculous, right? Okay. Is that all the 56? well, I guess I should show you these. Here's my little basket of charms. Some of these I stitched, some of these other people stitched. So somebody sent this to me. Really cute. I think that's like a 28. Somebody sent this to me with their tiny stitching materials. Snoozy Susie. Remember Susie would just sleep in my lap? 56. No, this looks like 46. Surfing. Nati sent this to me a long time ago. 56. Oh. Shh. It's not coming apart. Jessie sent this to me on 40 count. Hello? Really? Are you hungry? I'll feed you as soon as I'm done. This is the first Quirky Quaker I stitched. This is with Invisifil. Oh, no, it's not coming off. Isn't that cute? Little lovebirds. And then I stitched this one with kimono silk. Quirky Quaker Pride. Pride Quirky Quaker. Something like that. And then this was the first one I did on quilting fabric. And this was not, this is like DMC or something like that. And I wouldn't do it again. But this is Bent Creek something kitty. It's not very good finishing. It's not stretched right. Whatever. All my little charms. Sometimes I wear a necklace with these. It's fun. Okay. My first quilting square. No, not my first. My second quilting square whip with Invisifil. And this is why it's not finished. But it's a cat from Stitchman Darcy. It's still really pretty. Really fine. What was I thinking? It's a huge pattern with this terrible floss. That's alright. We eventually got to this. These are Marumi Designs. Marumi May. It's a cat. I mean, wonky cat. And we've got Giddy Crabs. Giddy Crabs. This is the quilting squares with kimono silk, all of these. And Hazy Hen. Look at this fabric. Isn't that fun with the hen? And this is Jacob's Distelfink Heart. I started this at Jacob Palooza. Look, it's not even focusing. It's like, no, Kaylee. This is a huge pattern. Oh. Now we're just gonna not focus on anything. That's cool. I'm really proud of this one. It's gorgeous. But as you can see, it's wider than it is tall. So this is not a completely even weave fabric. And my current Funky Carpet Menagerie is Lanky Camel. That I think I have like 600 stitches left on this. Not very many. But he tall. He tall. He a lanky camel. I kind of second guessed this floss choice on this fabric, but in the right light, it really hits. It's really good. Maybe it's because the floss is so shiny. And look at this cute little bag from Kaylee. It's so small. I found these at Stitch North, and she always has the cutest little charms on her bags. Adorbs. Okay, I think that's all. All my tiny stitching. As you can see, if you watch my last video, my last tiny stitching video, it's quite an array. And we're at 54 minutes, my goodness. That's a lot. So Yeah, I hope you, if you have signed up for a tiny stitching kit, I hope you enjoyed it. And if you didn't, then you're like, I don't need to do that again, which is fine. I love that too. But also, I'm glad you tried it. And I'm glad you didn't have to spend a bunch of money on the fabric. If you have not tried it, please sign up. I'll send you a little piece and a needle, and I also include a free chart from my friend Michael, which I'm slightly embarrassed that I have not stitched a chart, but I will. I should do that like very soon so that you can see how tiny it's going to be. But people ask me what's the best kind of chart. I mean, just look at your favorite sampler and stitch a motif. That's all. Monochromatic is good, but if you like have a real big desire to stitch something specific, then I'm happy to work with you on that. I do have one person who signed up, and incomplete address and the email address didn't work. So if your name is Doris Z, I don't have your address, your full address. I just have a PO box number, and your email address didn't work. So if you see this, can you send me an email or fill out the form again so I can send you your tiny stitching kit. Some people, when they fill out the form, they don't have a proper email. So if that happens, just send me a message. I'll send you the free pattern. Some people do have incomplete addresses, but we fix it quick. So yes, please sign up for a kit. I want you to try it. And if you hate it, that's okay. That's okay. But if you love it, you've been bitten by the tiny stitching bug. Hashtag we want 56 count even weave. Swagart. Okay? Yeah. I've been Kaylee. This has been Kaylee Cross Stitch. Signing off. That's all. Thanks for watching. And thanks for exploring this really weird niche thing with me. And I hope you enjoyed Cannoli screaming. I'm gonna go feed them. Are you hungry? Are you hungry? He's chasing a piece of hard food. Are you hungry? Come here, tell me. I hope you can hear that. What? Really? This is my life. Okay. See you next time. Bye.